Today is another Wednesday. This podcast will be going on every Wednesday by God's grace. Every Wednesday, that will be 12 p.m. Dallas time, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. Please log in and join us. Invite your friends, invite family members. Subscribe to our channel so that when we go live like this, you will be notified. We welcome you to another session. Today, we'll be discussing asylum. We will be discussing asylum today. And sending your the numbers are. But for this podcast, we have a dedicated line, and that number is 817-983. A dedicated 7-883-4499. We have a lot of other numbers, but this particular one is dedicated for this podcast. So that is why we want you to have that number. So send your questions in. Today we are discussing asylum. I know that we have a couple of videos in the past on asylum, but we are discussing asylum today because asylum is a very, very popular topic. We are doing it based on popular demand. That is why we are doing it today. Asylum is a very, very, very popular topic. But I can tell you from experience, as a well-experienced immigration attorney, asylum is one of the most easy. What makes it dangerous is the fact that it is the only application that a USCIS officer does not have the authority to deny. It is the only application that USCIS officers' authority is one-way authority. If you present your case in an affirmative asylum and the officers believe your story, they have the authority to approve it. On the other hand, if they don't believe your story, they do not have the authority to deny it. And because they cannot deny it, the law mandates that they should send you or the applicant to removal proceedings, to an immigration judge in a removal proceedings for you to go and represent your case before an immigration judge. So that is what is called referral. So an average USCIS officer, asylum officer, if you present your case to them, if they believe your story, they have the authority to approve it. If they don't believe your story, they do not have the authority to deny it. And because they do not have the authority to deny it, they are mandated by law to send you to a removal proceedings before an immigration judge for you to go and represent your asylum claim. But you and I know that once you are in removal proceedings, you are already on your way out. Because by the time you get to removal proceedings now, something called NTA will accompany you. The NTA is a charging document. That is the immigration equivalent of a criminal charge. In a criminal case, they charge an accused person with certain offense. You have been charged with this offense. How do you want to plead? Are you on authorization to remain until XY date? You remain in the United States beyond the period authorized in violation of the law. You are subject to removal. So when you get to removal proceedings, the first thing the judge is going to ask you, did you receive the notice to appear? Once you admit, then they ask you, how do you want to plead to those allegations? You see, immigration, out of experience over the years, they have seen all the different devices, all the different defenses, all the different tactics that lawyers use to get an NTA dismissed in immigration proceedings. So they have come up with ways that makes it almost impossible for anybody to deny any allegation in the NTA. Look at the example I just gave you. Let's say, or let me give you this example. Let's say I'm from Nicaragua and I applied for asylum. I was invited for interview. I presented my case, but unfortunately, the immigration officer did not believe my story. So the immigration officer did not approve the asylum. Instead, the immigration officer issued referral notice as well. You are a citizen of Nicaragua. From the example that I've given, that is a fact. I'm a citizen of Nicaragua, so I cannot deny that charge. The next allegation, you entered the United States. Maybe I came October 2001, that I cannot deny. The next allegation, you remain in the United States beyond February, beyond the period authorized. Those are allegations I cannot deny. So at the end of the day, I will be forced to admit to those allegations. But the danger in that is that as soon as you admit to those allegations, the immigration judge will conclude that removal has been established. Removal has been established. Now, the judge will now ask you, what relief are you seeking? That is when you now have the opportunity to represent your asylum claim. So you can see why asylum is such a dangerous application. So for people who are not eligible, I will advise you, before you rush to submit asylum application, think twice, because it can send you into removal proceedings. Having said that, that is not the only reason why I said asylum is the most dangerous application. Because even in some limited situations, you can still file some other form of application and end up in removal proceedings. So that's not what makes it the most dangerous. What actually makes it the most dangerous is what is contained in the asylum application itself. Those who are listening to me, if you have access to an asylum application, it doesn't matter the version, whether it's an old version or current version. If you have access to an asylum application, go to page 9. Page 9 is the signature page of an asylum application. You will see what is clearly stated in page 9. In fact, in the entire asylum application, that portion that has the title warning, that is the only part of the entire application that was written in bold. That was intentional. They wrote it boldly so that you cannot deny that you didn't see it. They also ensure that that warning was located in the signature page so that before you sign, read it. And they wrote it boldly. Warning: applicants who are in the United States unlawfully are subject to removal if their asylum claim is not granted by an asylum officer or an immigration judge. Information provided: applicants who submitted a frivolous application for asylum will be permanently ineligible for any benefit under the Immigration and Nationality Act. You may not avoid a frivolous finding simply because someone advised you to provide false information in your asylum application. This warning is written boldly. So what that means, let me explain it in a layman's language. What I just read now, what I just stated now, what I just quoted now, what it means is that if you submit a frivolous asylum application, if immigration makes a determination that that application is frivolous, frivolous simply means fabrication, something that never happened, something that was fabricated. So if you submit a fabricated story and immigration makes that conclusion, it means that that person is permanently ineligible. What it simply means is that after that determination, if you marry the American president, you cannot get legal status in this country. If you marry the daughter of President Biden, you cannot. That is what it means. At least that is the law when it comes to asylum. So you can see why this thing is dangerous. It is extremely dangerous. So, if you are not eligible, please do not do it. Consult an experienced immigration attorney before you file a frivolous asylum application. Now, having said that, I'm going to go into the asylum itself, the requirement of asylum. But in the meantime, please start sending your questions so that by the time I finish the preliminary explanation, I will have questions to answer. Please send in your questions. Send in your questions. We are expecting your questions. Now, what exactly are the requirements for asylum? There are three basic things that every applicant for asylum will have to establish before an asylum application can be approved. The first one, an applicant must show that the harm that he or she is running away from, that harm is coming from the government of the applicant country. You must be running away from harm that is coming from the government. Either the applicant has been harmed in the past or has a fear of future harm. That harm must be coming from the government. It cannot be a harm from your father-in-law or your mother-in-law or some powerful people in your community. No, it must be a harm that is coming from the government of the country, of your country, or from someone that the government is unable or unwilling to control. Now, why is this requirement very important? It is very important because this is the core of every asylum application. This is what determines whether an asylum application will be approved or denied. And I can tell you, in the United States today, to my knowledge, about 95% of asylum applications are denied simply because majority of the applicants don't understand what the requirements are. Now, why must you have to show that the harm is coming from the government? There are basic things. Every country in the world has a form of government. Every single government has a responsibility. There are two responsibilities of every government, irrespective of the type of government. It doesn't matter whether it's a socialist government, capitalist government, parliamentary, president, all those things are immaterial. Every single government on earth have two major responsibilities. The first responsibility is to protect its sovereignty, and that is why they have soldiers. There is no government anywhere in the world without soldiers, because every government has a responsibility to protect its sovereignty, and that is why they have soldiers. The second responsibility of any government, irrespective of the type of government, is to protect its own citizens. It is the responsibility of the government to protect its citizens. So, if you are a citizen of a particular country, as an American citizen, it is only the American government that has a responsibility to protect me as an American. It is only the American government. No other government can protect me. I cannot have a problem here and run to Canada for the Canadian government to come and protect me. I cannot run to UK for the UK government to come and protect me. If I do that, it means that if the UK government accepted or agreed to protect me, they will be violating American sovereignty, because it is not their responsibility to protect me. As an American, it is the responsibility of the American government to protect me. So, if the harm you are running away from in your home country, if that harm is not coming from the government, if the harm is coming from any individual or any organization, it is the responsibility of the government to protect you. Now, I've established that it is the responsibility of the government to protect you. But in some cases, the government may even have a legitimate reason to harm you. Because you cannot go and commit a crime, for example, and then say that, oh, the government is not willing to protect me, therefore I want American government to protect me. No, there are still limits. You have to show that the reason that the government of your country is attempting to harm you, that reason is at least one of 5 recognized grounds for asylum. One, that the government is trying to harm you on the basis of your race, religion, nationality, membership in a particular social group, or political opinion. So you have to show that, number one, you have to show in your asylum that the harm you are running away from, that harm is coming from the government of your country or from someone that the government is unwilling or unable to control. After satisfying that requirement, you now have to show that even the government, the reason the government is trying to harm you is not because you have committed a crime, but either because of your race, or because of your religion, or because of your nationality, or because you belong to a particular social group, or the government is attempting to harm you because of your political opinion. So you have to establish that it is at least one of those reasons that the government is the one harming you or trying to harm you, or why you have fear of future persecution. Now, if you meet those 2 requirements, the next requirement is that you must file your asylum application within 1 year of entry into the United States. I've seen several people come to my office, people who have been in the US for 5 years. They will just say that, oh, we want to apply for asylum. Let me be honest with you. You are not eligible for asylum if you have been here for more than 5 years. It's a statutory requirement. Although the law allows, in very limited situations, the law allows for change in circumstances. But I can tell you, in my decades of immigration practice, that exception has only been applied in exceptionally limited situations. Situations like maybe you are in the US illegally, you've been here for years, and then maybe there was a war that broke out in your country. Now you can't go back home because of the war. That may be an exceptional situation that can justify your late filing. But even then, in order to be eligible for asylum, you will still have to show how that war will affect you as a person. You can't get asylum based on generality. Asylum is something that has to be based on particularity. So you have to show how that affected you as a person, not how it affected the nation generally. So these 3 requirements are mandatory if you must get your asylum approved. Let me quickly go over the 3 requirements again for those who may not catch it. The first requirement, you have to show that the government of your country or someone that the government is unwilling or unable to control is the one that has harmed you, that is harming you, that you have a fear that will harm you. That is the first requirement. Second requirement, you have to show that the reason that whoever is harming you, the reason they are trying to harm you or are harming you is either because of your race or your religion or your nationality, or because you belong to a particular social group, or it is because of your political opinion. So you have to show that it is at least one of those 5. Then lastly, you have to submit your asylum application within 1 year of your entry into the United States. So those 3 requirements are mandatory. If you don't meet any of those 3, My brother, my sister, don't apply for asylum. If you do, you may end up finding yourself in removal proceedings. Now, let's see if questions have started coming in before we continue. There are more explanations to be made regarding asylum, but I will prefer to answer specific questions so that we don't waste time here, because asylum is a very interesting topic and there's a lot to say about it. Okay, first question. I live in Nigeria. Kidnappers came to my house and took my child. I got my child back, but they are threatening to come back. I do not trust police in my area. Can I file for asylum? My brother, my sister, or whoever wrote this question, the simple answer is no, you are not eligible for asylum. So, from the explanation that I've just made, if kidnappers came to your house to take your child, it is the responsibility of the Nigerian government to protect you. It is not America's responsibility. If America decides to come and protect you, America will be violating Nigeria's sovereignty. Nigeria is a sovereign nation. America is also a sovereign nation. So America cannot go to protect Nigerian citizens because Nigerian citizens are being kidnapped. That's not America's responsibility. That is the responsibility of the Nigerian government. I can tell you, if you apply for asylum based on this fact, during interview, they are going to ask you, where are you living? If your life is not safe in the area that you live, based on this question, you say police in your area, you cannot trust the police in your area, why don't you relocate? Nigeria has 36 states. Not all states are the same. I mean, remember that even American government have American citizens who are working in Nigeria. They have embassies in Nigeria. They know areas that are safe. They know areas that are not safe. So why not relocate to the areas that are safe? Those are questions that will come up during interview if you apply for asylum based on this fact. But I can tell you, based on this question, based on this fact, you are not eligible for asylum, because this responsibility of protecting you from kidnappers, that is the responsibility of the Nigerian government. That is not the responsibility of American government. One. Secondly, look at the explanation, the requirement that I've listed. Tell me where this issue of kidnapper fall in. I told you that to be eligible for asylum, you have to show that the harm you are running away from is at least one of five, is on the basis of at least one of five recognized grounds. On the basis of race, religion, nationality, membership in a particular social group, or political opinion. The fact that you have presented here does not fall into any of those five. So if you have challenges with kidnappers, run to Nigerian government for protection, and I'm sure Nigerian government will protect you. So that is just it. That is not the basis for asylum. Let's go to the next question. My wife and children entered the country 2 years ago, but I just arrived. They are out of status. Will I be able to add them to my own application? Yes, if you apply for asylum. If you apply for asylum and your asylum is granted, that is when I will advise you to add them. Because if you add them at the initial stage and your asylum is not approved by an immigration officer, from my explanation, you should have understood that by now. If your asylum is not approved by an asylum officer, you'll be sent to removal proceedings. So it means that all of you are going to be in jeopardy of being removed. But if you list their names, of course, in your asylum application, you will have to disclose that you are married. You will have to disclose that you have children. But that is not the same thing as adding them to your application. So you have to list them, then submit your own application. If your application is approved, then you can now have a basis to add them. At that stage, the fact that your application has been approved could now be used as a basis to justify their own late filing. And at that stage, they will not be at risk of being removed from the United States. The next question: can I apply for employment authorization at the same time I file my asylum application? No, you cannot. Employment authorization and asylum cannot be done at the same time. So, for asylum, you have to apply first, and your application must have been pending. The receipt notice that you received when your asylum application was filed, that application must have been pending for at least 180 days. That is 6 months before you can be eligible to apply for work authorization. So you cannot apply for work authorization together with your asylum application. Asylum application is not that kind of application. No, the answer is no. So let's look at the next question. The next question: I was told to write down everything that happened to me and why I am afraid to return to my country. Is a personal statement required? Yes, this is a mandatory requirement for asylum. If you listen to what I said from the beginning, everyone applying for asylum must present a story. You must explain why you are applying for asylum. You have to explain why you are applying for asylum. You have to state your story. You have to state why you cannot return home. I mean, the US government is not going to, they are not magicians. How are they going to know what happened to you? How are they going to know why you cannot go back home? How are they going to know why your life will be in danger? They can't know all these things if you don't tell them. So you have to write a very detailed story about what happened to you, why you cannot go back home. So it's a mandatory requirement. Yes, you have to present a personal story. It is part of the requirement for asylum. Next question. I've been told that I meet requirement for asylum. I'm from Nigeria and I have a birth certificate from the local government, not the National Population Commission. I can't get one from NPC. Can I still file my asylum application? Will they accept the birth certificate? Well, when it comes to asylum, you can use birth certificate from the local government when it comes to asylum, because generally the presumption is that somebody who is applying country, so that person may not have access to most documents that are required. If it come to think of it, if it is true that the government of your country is trying to harm you, it is the same government that issues that controls National Population Commission. It is the same government that you are going to get your birth certificate from. So they are not going to expect you. They are not going to expect you to go back to the same government to apply for birth certificate from the National Population Commission. No, they will accept it, for the purpose of asylum. Now, if your asylum is granted and then you meet the eligibility requirement for adjustment of status and you want to apply for green card, now the requirement is different. It's not going to be the same. The requirement is not going to be the same. So I'm not addressing that. So I'm addressing the requirement for asylum. So I don't want you to mix. Let's go into the next question. What is the difference between an asylee and a refugee? Oh, okay. Simple question. They are actually the same thing. What makes the difference is the location. When you are applying for in the US, at the time of your application, that is when you are referred to as an asylee. But when you are applying, you know that in some cases, I mean, I know that there used to be war, is it in the Democratic Republic of Congo or something, where people were displaced, that they had to keep them in a refugee camp and process asylum from them from that place. That they are doing, it was a refugee status. So that is different from when you are applying from inside. So when you are already physically present in the US before you apply, that is when you apply for asylum. But when your application is processed from outside, that is when you apply for refugee status. So it's the same thing, but it is the location that makes the difference. So the requirements are the same, everything is the same, it is just the location that makes the difference. Next question. I was lucky enough to get away from my country, but my husband is still there. If I file, can I add him to my own application? Well, if you are here, you will be applying for asylum. If he is outside, he cannot apply for asylum. He can only apply for refugee status. However, if you list him in your own story and your application is approved, yes, there is a process of follow to join that he can benefit. You will just need to file what is called I-730 on his behalf, and then he will be allowed to come in and join you as an asylee or a refugee, as the case may be. The next question. You mentioned that I can't apply for EAD with my asylum. Can I use my receipt for asylum to get a driver's license? No, sir, or no, ma. I don't know if it's a man or a woman. No, you cannot. Like I said, your asylum application must have been pending for at least 180 days. For at least 180 days before you can apply for employment authorization. And of course, you need to get employment authorization before you can get a driver license. However, having said that, let me clarify this. If you came in legally and let's say you are given 6 months at the port of entry, you can actually apply for driver license before the expiration of your 6 months. They will give you a driver's license that will be valid until the end of that 6 months. So you really don't need any application before you apply for driver's license. For as long as you are still in legal status, you can apply as soon as you come in, so that they will give you a driver license that is valid for 6 months or the number of months remaining in your legal status. The next question. Lived in the USA for years, left when facing deportation, over 12 years being in Canada, wanting to come and see my children, family, but wary not to face challenges at the border. What should I do? Well, this question is not complete. You have to provide more information. For example, I don't know if you are a Canadian citizen. I don't know what you are doing in Canada. I don't know what led to facing deportation in the past. So it's an incomplete question. So there's a lot of assumptions here. And I usually don't assume when I want to advise people, because assuming may lead to inaccurate information or inaccurate advice. So you have to provide more information. For example, if you are a Canadian citizen, yes, you can come into the US without, you are not required to have a visa to come to the US if you are holding a Canadian passport. So you can come to visit your children. So there are a lot of things that I don't know. So I can't tell you what to do if I don't have more information. The next question. Please keep the questions coming. Keep the questions coming. This is interesting. The next question. I was told not to apply for a travel document because I have a pending asylum application. Why shouldn't I get a travel document? This is a very funny question. I mean, come to think of it, from what I just explained, if you apply for asylum and you are telling American government that you are not able to go back home because you have a fear that you will be persecuted, or you have been persecuted in the past, or you are currently being persecuted. You have a fear, you don't want to go back home, you can't go back to your home country, and you apply for asylum on the basis of that. You want the government, American government, to protect you here. At the same time, you are telling the same American government to give you travel document. You want to go back to the same country. Come on, you can't have it both ways. However, having said that, that does not mean that you cannot get travel document to travel to a different country. Because there's a special travel document for asylees. There's a special travel document for asylees, and the procedure is completely different. It is not the same. It is not the same travel document that someone who has a family-based petition, or somebody who has employment-based petition. So it is not. It is not the same kind of travel document. But there is a travel document that you can apply for as an asylee. So there's a travel document you can get, you can apply for, and you can get. But of course, you cannot travel to the same country that you are telling them that you are not safe. The same country you told them you cannot go back to. So if you apply for this travel document and they give you, and you use it to travel to your home country, I can guarantee you that your asylum application is going to be denied. So it is not consistent. I can tell you that your asylum application is going to be denied. So you cannot do that. But if you get the kind of travel document that is given to asylees, yes, that one comes in a form of passport. It comes in a form of a special passport that you can use to travel to other countries, not the country you claim you are running away from. So that is the way that works. Keep the questions coming in, please. The next question: can I visit my family in my home country after my asylum has been approved? I think this is just similar to the one I just answered. These people are not stupid. Some people act as if Americans or immigration officers here or the US government, they are composed of people that does not have any kind of sense, or people that blood does not run in their vein. Let me tell you, the fact that you have been granted asylum does not mean that your asylum cannot be revoked. Asylum can be revoked at any time. At any time. In fact, just last week in my office here, we represented a client whose asylum is being threatened to be revoked. At any time, when they find out that you lied, they can revisit it. So, if you tell them that this same home country that you are now in their need to visit, this same country that you presented a story that explaining why you cannot go back to that same country, now they gave you asylum, and now you suddenly remember that you needed to go to that same exact country. Come on, they are not stupid. They are not stupid. No, it's not advisable, except you want to lose your asylum status. The next question: I was ordered removed because my asylum was denied. I have been waiting on the appeal. I'm now married to a US citizen. Can he file for me? Will that fix my status? Well, this is one of those complicated situations. I explained this at the beginning of this podcast. You see, I explained that asylum is one of the most... I explained this at the beginning, what makes it dangerous. What makes it dangerous is, go back to page 9 of your asylum application. Page 9 of the asylum application says, applicants who are in the United States unlawfully, who apply for asylum will be subject to removal if their asylum application is not granted before an immigration officer or before an immigration judge. Applicants determined to have made a frivolous application for asylum will be permanently ineligible for any benefit under the Immigration and Nationality Act. You may not avoid a frivolous finding simply because someone advised you to provide false information in your asylum application. So the truth of the matter is, why were you ordered removed? Let me say this for clarity, because I don't want to be misunderstood or misinterpreted. For clarity, let me say this. The fact that your asylum was denied is not the same as someone who was determined to have filed a frivolous application for asylum. They are not the same thing. You can have your asylum denied because the judge or the immigration. In order to properly answer this question, I will need to know what was the basis of the denial of the asylum. If the asylum was denied simply because you didn't prove your case, yes, your marriage to the American citizen may be able to solve the problem. Your wife can quickly file a petition for you. If that petition is approved, you can file a motion with the Board of Immigration Appeal for your case to be remanded, to give you an opportunity to apply for adjustment of status. You can file that motion based on changed circumstances, something that was not available at the time of your initial hearing. Yes, you can do that. However, if the asylum was denied because the judge concluded that you are not credible, your case was frivolous, that is a permanent bar. So even if you marry American president, you will still not be able to get green card. If you marry President Joe Biden's daughter or son, you will still not be able to get green card. So there's a lot to know in this type of situation. So whoever sent this question, my advice to you will be to contact an experienced immigration attorney who can review your case and then make a proper determination whether you may be able to still adjust status despite the denial of your application. But I want you to get it very clear. The mere fact that your asylum application was denied by itself, that is not what makes it permanently. That is when it becomes a permanent problem. So let's go to the next question. I was told to apply for something called ASAP before applying for EAD. What is that? Well, ASAP is an organization of asylum applicants. So there was a time that organization filed a lawsuit against immigration regarding the delay in the processing of employment authorization for asylum applicants. So at the end of the day, that case was settled out of court, and immigration agreed to expedite applications submitted by ASAP members. So if you are a member of ASAP and you have a pending application for work authorization, then you get that access to that expedited processing. So that is what ASAP is all about. So it will be to your benefit if you are a member. So that will ensure that your employment authorization application is processed promptly. So that is what that is all about. That does not have any influence or any impact on the merit of your asylum application. So I don't want you to have this wrong impression that, oh, maybe if I join ASAP, my application is going to be approved. No, it has nothing to do with it does not even guarantee that your employment authorization will be approved. It only guarantees that they will expedite the process of adjudication. Okay, the next question. I filed my asylum long ago and I haven't been invited for interview yet. Can I expedite my application? Again, let me say this before I answer this question, for the purpose of whoever sent this question and also for the purpose of others here listening to me today. Immigration is not a one-cap-fits-all. Every single case is different. I keep repeating this every week. Immigration is not a one-cap-fits-all. Every single case is different. So, I will advise whoever sent this application to consult an experienced immigration attorney before making a decision whether to expedite the application or not. Is it possible to expedite asylum application? Yes. Is it advisable to expedite asylum application? No. Again, every case is different. You have to look at the merit of your case. You have to look at what your end goal is. You have to look at what your strategy is. You have to look at the weight of evidence that you have. You have to look at the possibility of your asylum being approved or being denied. So you have to look at a lot of things before you make this request for expedited processing. Let me tell you why it is dangerous to make expedited request. When it comes to asylum, the process of expediting the application requires that you submit a request for expedited processing to immigration. When you do, they put you in line. Usually, when they schedule people to come for interview, some people will contact immigration to request them to reschedule the interview. So when they have people that are scheduled, maybe a day before the interview, somebody called or sent a letter or contacted USCIS to request a reschedule of that interview. Once that rescheduling is granted, it means that day there is one opening for asylum. So they go to the list of the people who requested expedited processing for them to put themselves in such a situation. So that would be my advice on that. But the question is it possible? Yes, it is possible. Next question. What is the cost of ASAP? Is it free? Yes, ASAP is free. It's not, like I said, it's a non-profit organization. It's an organization of asylum applicants. So it's free. There is no payment required. It is free. So anyone who has a pending asylum application can join the organization. And once you join the organization, they give you membership card. And then when you apply for employment authorization, you can submit that membership card along with your application, and that will give immigration reasons to expedite your employment authorization application. But like I said, that doesn't mean your application will be approved or denied. It has nothing to do with that. The only benefit is just the processing time. It reduced the processing time. That is the only benefit of ASAP membership, and it is free of charge. It is free of charge. I think we are going to have a little short break. I need to just take some water. 1 minute break, please.
The pressure was that it was a man that you can rely on. They work with me, they work with me like, it became something like family, right? It was no longer like, okay, this is a client, this is somebody you are providing you service, right? So it became something like a family. So yeah, I can see the relationship was good working with his staff. People give me encouragement, but I will look at it and say, how is it possible? You know, I said, it is not going to be possible. That's why I kept telling myself that it's not going to be possible. But him, he knew what he was doing. Like I said, research is very, very important. You know, if you do research, you will learn a lot of stuff. You know, there are a lot of immigration rules some people don't look at. You know, there are loopholes there, and sometimes they purposely put them there. You know, so it's research, and he's using those research to help a lot of people, not just me. It is not just me. It is a lot of people here that, many people here that he has helped. Many people. Sometimes it doesn't even charge them. You know, when it comes to the point that it doesn't even charge them. You know, so yes, if you are looking for an immigration lawyer.
Talking about immigration, as an immigrant myself, I always put myself in the shoes of clients because I've passed through the immigration process and I know how hard it can be on people when they don't have the legal documents to work or to do day-to-day activities here in the United States. So that personal touch makes a big difference.
The law office of Olu Asekun is special because we like to put ourselves in our client's shoes.
For Dr. Asekun, for me, I will forever be grateful, and I keep telling people he's the best immigration lawyer you can have. You know, he's the best immigration lawyer you can have.
Welcome back. Sorry about that. Let me go back to the question that I was. Okay, I think the question is, what is the cost of ASAP? Okay, and I believe we already answered that. ASAP is free. Membership is free. You don't need to pay any fee. And of course, biometric fee is also waived. So there's no need for any payment being a member of ASAP or joining ASAP. It is free. So next question. What will be evidence if I can submit with an application? What are they looking for? I do not have much because I fled the country on moment's notice because I fear for my life. Well, I'm assuming that whoever wrote this is just joining us. Maybe you need to go back to, because this is like taking us back. We already explained all the detailed requirements for asylum from the beginning of this podcast. For you to be eligible for asylum, you have to show that the harm that you are running away from, that harm is coming from the government of your country. You have to show that the harm is coming from the government of your country or from someone that the government is unable or unwilling to control. It cannot be harm from private people. It cannot be harm from your father-in-law. It cannot be kidnapping. It cannot be all those things, because the government of your country has the responsibility to protect every citizen in that country. It is not the duty, it is not the responsibility of America to protect citizens of other nations. It is the responsibility of the American government to protect only American citizens. So if you have issues with in your home country, that is not America's problem. That is not the responsibility of the American government. So they cannot protect you. So it is the government of your country that has the responsibility to protect you. So if your life is in danger, contact the government of your home country. So for you to be eligible for asylum, you have to show that the harm you are running away from, that harm is coming from the government of your country. Because if the government is the one trying to harm you, then you can't run to the same government for protection. Or if the government is unwilling or unable to control the person who is trying to harm you, then you can't rely on the government to protect you. So that is the first thing they are looking for, using your language here, That is the first thing they are looking for. You have to show that the harm you are running away from is coming from the government or from someone the government is unwilling or unable to control. That is the first thing they are looking for. The second thing they are looking for is that even if you show that the government is the one trying to harm you, because the government may have a legitimate reason to harm you. For example, if you committed a crime, the government have the responsibility to have you arrested. They have the responsibility to have you prosecuted, have you jailed. I mean, the government in some limited situation can persecute you if you commit a crime. So because of that, it is not enough to show that the government is the one trying to harm you. In addition to showing that the government is the one trying to harm you, you have to take a step further by showing that the reason that the government is trying to harm you is either because of your race, your religion, your nationality, membership in the particular social group, or your political opinion. You have to show the reason. You have to show that the reason that the government is trying to harm you is either because of your race, your religion, your nationality, membership in a particular social group, or political opinion. So you have to show all those things before you can be eligible for asylum. Then you must also file your application for asylum within 1 year of entry into the United States. So those are the things they are looking for. So if you don't have those three things, you are not eligible for asylum. Now, before I go further, I want to say this. I know there are other questions. I will come back to those other questions. I want to say this for clarity, because this is exactly the reason we are doing this podcast. We are not doing this to make money. As you all know, it is free of charge. This is the reason we are doing it. We are doing it to provide information so that our people, in particular, Africans, Mexicans, Europeans, Asians, without the slightest understanding of what the requirements are. Many people apply for asylum primarily to obtain employment authorization. The emphasis is employment authorization. I tell you, the fact that you are given an employment authorization does not mean that your asylum application is credible. The fact that you are given employment authorization does not even mean that they have looked at your asylum application. Employment authorization are processed by a completely different department who may not even have access, not even may, who do not have access to your asylum application. Asylum applications are processed by specialized office. It is not processed in every state. It is not processed in every city where you have immigration office. Asylum applications are processed only by specialized offices, and they are processed in confidence. They are not the kind of applications that are open to other immigration officers. Asylum applications are processed by people who are trained specifically to process asylum applications. So, employment authorization, on the other hand, is processed by the National Benefit Center. That is not where asylum applications are processed. So the fact that you are given employment authorization is not a guarantee, is not even an evidence that they have looked at your asylum application. So I see this trend all the time. People conclude that because they have been given employment authorization, they conclude that immigration believe their story. Listeners, please pay attention. That is not true. That is not the case. Employment authorizations are only given to asylum applicants because they do not want you to become a public liability. Because they have not processed your case, they don't want you to become a liability. They know that you need to take care of yourself. You need to take care of your family. You need to pay your bills while waiting for your application to be processed. That is why they allow employment authorization to be processed. That has nothing to do with your asylum application. So if you are one of those people who are thinking that, oh, because they gave me work authorization, if they don't believe me, they will not give me, you are wrong. That does not even mean they have looked at your application at all. And remember, asylum applications are submitted in duplicate. They usually contact the U.S. Department of State. They usually contact the U.S. Embassy in your home country to verify these things. So for those who fabricate stories, write things that are not happening, the things that are completely untrue, those who fabricate stories, all these things, American government have more information about your home country, probably more than you yourself do. So they are not set of morons here. We see all these errors all the time. We see people look at immigration as if they are set of non-entities. That is wrong. That is not the case. This is one of the reasons why we are doing this program, to educate our people, to let them know the reality from fiction. It is fiction to assume that because you get work authorization, your asylum is going to be approved. It is fiction, because that does not even mean that they have looked at your story at all. It is fiction to believe that because you come from a particular country, you can tell them stories that they will not know whether it is true or not. Those things are fictions. They know what is going on in every country. And I can tell you, if you doubt me, if you have access to Google, go on Google, either right now as I'm talking to you or later at your own convenience. Go on Google, type Department of State Country Report and put your country. Department of State Country Report, put your country. If you are from Nigeria, for example, go to Google, type Department of State Country Report on Nigeria. If you are from Mexico, go to Google, type Department of State Country Report on Mexico. If you are from Nicaragua, go to Google, type Department of State Country Report on Nicaragua. You will see that these people know more about your country than you yourself know. If you are from Nigeria, for example, all the kidnappings going on, they know all these things. They know where it is going on. They know what is going on. So if you just go and fabricate some stories and think that you just come in here, you meet some set of ignorant people who have no idea what is going on, my brother, my sister, you are wrong. And that is exactly why we are providing this information, to let you know. Stop thinking as if you are dealing with people here who don't know what they are doing. They do know more than you think they know. Let us continue. The next question. Earlier you mentioned NTA and court. I entered without inspection but said that I'm applying for asylum. I was interviewed. They gave me NTA, but I don't have evidence of parole. What can I do? Well, if you entered IWI, IWI means entry without inspection, which is what you already explained. If you enter the United States without inspection, the only other thing you can apply for is asylum. That's the only chance you have. But if you are paroled, I tell you, parole for this purpose will have the same effect as somebody who entered the U.S. legally. If you are paroled, you may be, if you along the line marry a U.S. citizen, you may be able to adjust your status and get your green card despite your illegal entry. But if you are not paroled, the only thing you can do is to present a credible asylum application. That is the only choice you have. You don't have any other choice. However, having said that, if you entered and you are not paroled, you file your asylum application within 1 year. Because whether you are paroled or not, whether you enter with a visa or not, the truth of the matter is that you still have to apply for asylum within 1 year. It does not matter whether you are paroled or not. It does not matter whether you come with a visa or not. If you enter through the border, or if you enter with a valid visa, you still have to submit your asylum application within 1 year. So I hope you have not missed that 1 year deadline, because I've seen people who entered without inspection and then they were released on bond or maybe on personal recognition, and then they expect them to submit application for asylum to immigration court, but they missed that 1 year inspection. So if you file your application for asylum, if you are paroled, that may give you an opportunity to adjust if you later marry a U.S. citizen. However, if you are not paroled, you may not be able to adjust. But along the line, even if you fall in love with an American and you still get married, the only problem is you may not be able to adjust, but you may still be able to get your green card. There is a long process for that. That is not the topic for today, so I'm not going to go into that, but suffice to say here that there is a long process for that, but it is also possible for you to get your green card. Again, this is not a one-cap-fits-all. My suggestion, consult an experienced immigration attorney who may look into your specific situation and advise you accordingly. It is not a one-cap-fits-all. The fact that somebody entered without a visa and the person was able to adjust does not mean the next person who entered without a visa will be able to get green card. Every case is different, and there are little things that makes big differences when it comes to immigration law. Okay, the next question. I'm trying to see where I stopped before. I think it says you earlier mentioned NTA and court. I ended with that. Okay, that's the one I just ended. Okay, the next question is, can I change status if I was in fact paroled? Well, I think I already answered that. You cannot change status if you are paroled, but or let me rephrase that because it looks a little confusing. You see, if you are paroled, parole give you the same legal benefit as somebody who entered legally with a visa. So if you are paroled, it simply means that you can use that parole as evidence of your legal entry. Now, whether you can change status, as I explained in some of our previous podcasts, change of status is not the same thing as adjustment of status. If you are paroled, you may be able to change status before as easy as just telling you, yes, you can do this. Oh, yes, you cannot do this. Immigration is not like that. It is a little complex. So there are variables. There are little things that changes situation. There are little things that changes the scenario. So there are little things that one would need to know before I can give you a definitive answer. But the truth of the matter is that if you are paroled, that parole give you something similar to what your legal entry would have given you if you had come in with a visa. But you will recall from previous podcasts that even if you come in legally with a visa, you may still not be able to change status in some cases, and you may still not be able to adjust status in employment-based situations. So you still have to take all these things into consideration even when you are considering the effect of the parole. Next question. I was in removal proceedings based on my asylum application. My asylum was denied, but my withholding of removal was approved. What does this mean? Well, first, congratulations that you are even granted withholding of removal. Okay, this brings me back to my previous explanation. This is one of the technical things about immigration law, the requirement for withholding of removal is actually higher than the requirement for asylum. So for your withholding of removal to have been granted, even without knowing anything about your case, I can almost guarantee that your asylum application probably would have been approved if it was filed within 1 year of entry. I can almost tell you with certainty that the only reason that your asylum was not approved was because you didn't file within 1 year of entry. Because the requirement for withholding of removal is actually higher than the requirement for asylum. So now, having explained that, what does being granted withholding of removal, what does it mean? It is different from asylum. If you are granted asylum, after 1 year of being granted asylum, you are eligible to apply for permanent residence. You are eligible to apply for green card after 1 year of being granted asylum. But withholding of removal, it means that 1, your asylum has been denied. 2, it means that you have been ordered by the immigration judge to be removed back to your home country. 3, it means that the same immigration judge now ordered the government, the US government, to pause, to hold on that removal order. What that means is that they recognize that sending you back at this time is not good. Let them hold on to it. But what withholding of removal does not do, it does not give you the opportunity to apply for green card. It does not give you the opportunity to become a permanent resident because, like I said, your application was already denied. You have already been ordered removed. You cannot be granted withholding of removal without you being first ordered removed. So it means that you have been ordered removed. That order is what the court is saying, government, please hold on. Don't send this person back right now. So what that means is that if there is a changed situation in your home country, if the government believes in the future that your country is safe for you to be removed, they will remove you. So withholding of removal is a temporary relief. It is something that is telling the government, don't remove him right now. And it does not change the removal order. The only thing you can get from a withholding of removal, they will continue to give you employment authorization. That is the only thing you get. It keeps you here legally. You are not illegal. It gives you the opportunity to get driver license. It gives you the opportunity to be able to work legally. You are able to get employment authorization legally, but it does not translate into permanent residence. So I believe I've been able to explain what withholding of removal means. Okay. The next question. Can I stay in the country while I'm waiting for decision on my asylum application? Of course. If you apply for asylum application, it means, like I said, I explained earlier the difference between asylum and refugee. So if you are applying for asylum application, it simply means that you are here in this country. You are applying from here. Yes, it keeps you here. Now, having said that, there's another technical thing that I need to quickly explain. And that thing is the difference between unlawful presence and unlawful status. Now, if your asylum application is pending, you are lawfully present, but that does not give you lawful status. If your asylum application is pending, you have a pending asylum application, you are lawfully present, but that does not give you lawful status. So, while your application is pending, yes, you can remain here With your pending application, you can use that to apply for employment authorization. You can keep doing anything legally until whenever your asylum application is approved. However, if you submit your asylum application before the end of your authorized stay, before the expiration of your I-94, you may be able to adjust status even despite your asylum application still pending. You may be able to adjust status through other means, either through family or employment-based petitions. So you may be able to adjust status because, as I explained, your asylum status gives you lawful presence, even though it does not give you lawful status. Next question. My asylum was just approved. When can I apply for green card? Again, I'm sure this person just joined. We've said this over and over and over. Congratulations on the approval of your asylum application. You have to wait 1 year from the date that your asylum was approved. 1 year from that date, that is when you can apply for green card for you and your family. Next question. I provided inaccurate information on my asylum application based on advice from others. Is there a way to fix this before they put me in removal proceedings? I'm worried that this is going to hurt me because you mentioned that it could mean a permanent bar from other filings. Well, unfortunately, no, there's no way to fix it. Whoever sent this question, 2 things, I'm going to give you 2 advice. Number 1, consult an experienced immigration attorney. The information you have provided here is not enough for me to determine whether there is a way out or not. So, first advice, contact an experienced immigration attorney. Secondly, having said that, I want you to go back to your asylum application. I said earlier, for those who have joined us at the beginning of this program, go back to asylum application. For those who don't even know what asylum application is, if you have access to the internet, go on Google and type Form I-589. Form I-589. So when you pull Form I-589, go to page 9. Go to page 9. When you go to page 9, you will see a place that is written in bold letters. Bold letter. That is the only part of the entire application that is written in bold. And the title of that paragraph is warning. Warning. Now, that letter, if you go to that page 9, you will see where it says, warning, applicants in the United States unlawfully are subject to removal if their asylum claim is not granted by an asylum officer or an immigration judge. Applicants determined to have made a frivolous application for asylum will be permanently ineligible for immigration benefit under the Immigration and Nationality Act. Now, this is where I'm going. I didn't say this before, and I want to say it now. You may not, if you go further, you may not avoid a frivolous finding simply because someone advised you to provide false information. That is exactly the content of this question here. You may not avoid a frivolous finding simply because someone advised you to provide false information. It also says that you may not avoid a frivolous finding even if the application is later withdrawn. Even if you withdraw it, it will not change anything. Go to Google, type Form I-589, open the asylum application, go to page 9. You will see what I'm telling you there. What I'm telling you right now, you will see it there and confirm it. But having said all that, Again, every situation is different. Consult an experienced immigration attorney. I cannot tell you that there is no way out. Again, I don't know the details of your story. There are other things that I also don't know. And every time I come to this program, every time that I have the opportunity to talk to clients, every time that I make presentation talking about immigration, I always leave room for one thing, and that is God factor. No matter how good a case is, there is a God factor. No matter how bad a case is, there's always a God factor. So that I will not take off the table. So I will advise you, consult an experienced immigration attorney. Keep the questions coming. I don't think I have any questions at this time. We still have about 30 more minutes. So keep the questions coming. While expecting additional questions, I want to keep explaining this asylum. Because like I said, in my opinion, it is the single most dangerous application in the entire United States Immigration and Nationality Act. So we need to understand the way these things work before we jump into submitting a frivolous application. It is very, very dangerous. It is a smart thing to do, to find out what the requirement of an application is before submitting it. I've seen over and over and over that people only apply for asylum primarily to get employment authorization. Yes, you will get it. You will get it. There are people that I know who have been getting employment authorization for years, even up to 5 years. Yes, you will get it. But at the end of the day, what is the ultimate? What is the end goal? That is where the danger is. If at the end of the day, if the application is denied, you find yourself in a situation that you really don't want to be in. You find yourself in a situation you don't want to be in. It's very, very dangerous to just go ahead and join the bandwagon because other people are doing it. You also just want to do it. It is smart to consult an experienced immigration attorney so that you get the understanding of what the requirements are before you apply. And like I said, if you don't believe me, go to Google, type Form I-589. That is the application for asylum. Go to page 9 of that application and look at the paragraph that says warning. And the entire application, that is the only paragraph that was written in bold. And that is the same page where the signature is. So they are telling you, before you sign this thing, read it so that you don't get yourself into trouble. Now, I think we have more questions. Please keep the questions coming. We still have about 30 minutes to go so that at least I'll spend time explaining this. This is the whole purpose. We are not doing this to make money. We are not doing this for any reason. We are only doing it to help our people, to provide information to our people, to ensure that our people avoid unreasonable mistakes. They don't get themselves into trouble. I've represented a client in the past whose spouse filed an asylum application that was determined to be frivolous. This client is a U.S. citizen. The family, they have 3 children. All of them are U.S. citizens. The entire family are U.S. citizens. The parents, everybody, they are all U.S. citizens. But guess what? The husband was still deported despite all of these U.S. citizens, simply because a frivolous asylum application was previously submitted by the husband, even before he met this woman. So things happen. It's always good to get information. Next question. I'm a woman from Africa that was subjected to FGM. I am worried for my daughters. Is this ground to apply for asylum? Um, well, before I answer this question, can you please note it? Maybe next week we can discuss FGM because that's another topic that I believe is going to. Please note it. Well, we are giving you advance notice now. Next week, starting from next week, we'll be discussing all the elements of asylum. Now that we have started with asylum this week, we'll be discussing all the elements. So next week, by God's grace, we'll be discussing FGM as a ground for asylum. So again, from this question, I'm not sure I can answer this without additional information because, like I said multiple times, immigration is not a one cap fit all. Immigration is not like arithmetic or mathematics where 1 plus 1 is 2 or where 2 times 2 is 4. That is not immigration. Immigration, you can multiply 2 by 2 and get 4. You can multiply 2 by 2 and get 8. You can multiply 2 by 2 and get 6. You can multiply 2 by 2 and get 2. Every situation is different. Every situation is different. So I will have to know more before I can tell you, because FGM, yes, FGM may be one of the grounds for asylum. It comes under membership of particular social group. When I was explaining the grounds for the requirement for asylum, I stated that in order to be eligible for asylum, one, you have to show that the harm you are running away from, that harm is coming from the government of your country or someone that the government is unwilling or unable to control. That is the first requirement. The second requirement, because the government have a responsibility to in some limited situations, the government may have a valid reason to harm you. What if you have committed a crime? So the government may have you arrested. The government may have some legitimate reasons to persecute you. So because of that, you have to show that the reason that the government is trying to harm you is at least one of 5 recognized grounds. So those 5 recognized grounds are race, religion, nationality, membership in a particular social group, or political opinion. Now, this question, this FGM, female, but if the question is that a grant to apply for asylum? Yes, it is a grant to apply for asylum. Are you eligible for asylum under that grant? That I cannot answer until I have more information. But is it a grant? Yes, it is a grant. It is one of those grants under membership in a particular social group. Another example of membership in a particular social group is sexual orientation. Those who are gay or lesbian, yes, that is another evidence of membership in a particular social group. So to answer this question, is it a ground? Yes, it is. Being a member of a particular social group that is recognized for asylum purpose. Fortunately, the court have held that female genital mutilation is a victims of female genital mutilation form part of a recognized particular social group. Yes, is a ground to apply for asylum. So keep the questions coming, keep the questions coming, keep the questions coming. But like I said, consult an experienced immigration attorney to determine whether you as a person, whether you are eligible under that grant. Because the first thing you need to ask yourself is, if you stated that you are, well, like I said, I don't want to go into particular case since I don't even know the fact. I don't want to assume. I don't want to keep the questions coming. And remember to invite your family and friends. Remember to invite them to join us every Wednesday. This program is every Wednesday, 12 p.m. Dallas time. That is 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. Join us every Wednesday. You can get to us on our YouTube channel. You can also take your time to go back to look at previous topics that we have discussed. They are all on our YouTube channel. The purpose is just to provide information, no hidden agenda. There's nothing else. We are not doing this so that somebody can come to our office or somebody can patronize us. That's not the purpose. You don't have to come to us to ask any question. Just make sure that you avoid errors. You avoid mistakes. Don't turn your journey to Israelite journey. Don't turn a journey of 40 days to 40 years. That is the sole reason we are doing this. So it is not fair for you to get all this information and keep it to yourself. Invite your family, invite your friend, tell them about this free information that we provide every week. Every Wednesday, 12 p.m. Dallas time, that is 12 p.m. Central Standard Time, every Wednesday. You can send your question ahead of time. You can send it to our number 817-983-4499. We have a dedicated number for this podcast, and I think that is 817-883-4495. So you can send your question ahead of time. You can also send in your question live. You can also call in. You can call in. We have a line you can call. You can call 817-883-4499 to ask your questions. You can do all of that. I think we have new question. What kind of questions will they ask at the asylum interview? This is going too far, sir or ma. I don't know whoever wrote this. This is inviting me to speculate. I cannot tell you the kind of questions they will ask you because I don't know myself. Immigration is not mathematics. Immigration is not a place where the government give them 10 questions. It's not like citizenship where they tell you, answer these 10 questions. No. Officers are given ample opportunity to ask questions. And I can tell you the questions they will ask depends on the story that you present. Remember, you are the applicant. Remember, you are the one presenting your story. You are the one telling them why you cannot go back home. You are the one telling them what is happening in your country. So the questions are going to be based on what story you present. And I can tell you this authoritatively. Immigration officers are not given advanced questions. They are not robots. They are allowed to use their discretion to ask questions. So I cannot foresee a question that an officer is going to ask. I mean, it depends on the story. It depends on how the interview is progressing. One thing I know is that when you go for interview, you will be sworn in. You will be asked to raise your right hand or left hand, as the case may be. You will be asked to raise your hand and swear that everything you will say, the testimony you will give, everything will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. You will be asked to do that. Then that application that you submitted, the application will be reviewed. The application will be reviewed. They will go through all those applications. Remember, in the application, they ask for your name. They ask for your marital status. They ask for your parents' name. They ask for what follow-up questions to ask. So it is not possible to tell you ahead of time that this is the question an officer is going to ask you. Except if the officer has shared those questions with me, it is almost impossible for me to know. And I can tell you, most officers will not even know the question to ask you until they go into the interview. They will not know the question to ask you until they go into the interview, until they ask you the first question. Depending on your response, that is what determines what happened. I can tell you this. Even in a family-based petition, and from that was the very first question. I mean, the officer was just going to review the form. Can you tell me your husband's middle name? The person could not answer that question. And from there, the entire interview changed. That officer just said, oh, okay, hold on a minute. The officer decided to bring in a camera, video camera. The entire interview changed. Now they started recording they started producing audio, video recording of the interview. Because I guess that from that moment, something clicked in the officer that, oh, this is probably going to be a fraudulent marriage. So sometimes it depends on what your response to questions are that determines what will happen next. So it's not that somebody will have given the officer a list of some questions. These are the questions you should ask. No, that's not the way that's not the way immigration works, especially for asylum. That is not the way it works. The only reason your asylum clock will have stopped is based on what you did, or if you have a lawyer, based on what your lawyer did. Asylum clock does not stop except if you or your lawyer, by your action, stopped it. That is the only time that asylum clock can stop. If you or your lawyer stop it, that is the only time that it stops. Now, let me tell you what I mean by you or your lawyer stopping it. By your action. The moment you file an asylum application and immigration issued a receipt notice, that is the date that your application joined the queue. That is the date, the 180 days for your employment authorization. That is the date it starts counting. That is the date that determines when you are eligible. There are several things that you can do unknowingly to stop the clock. Again, this is where experience matters. This is where experience matters. And this is why it is important to have a lawyer. It is not everything you can do yourself. No matter how smart you are, being smart is not the same thing as having knowledge. If you are not trained in a particular field, you cannot know it. No matter if you are the best mathematician in the world, you can't just go into a plane and start flying except you are taught how to fly a plane. So there are several things that you may not know how to do if you are not a lawyer. There are several things that you may not know how to do if you are not trained in the art of doing this. There are so many things that you may not know how to do. And one of them is you may not know how to prevent your asylum clock from stopping innocently. You may not know all these things. Let me give you examples of how situations that could lead to your asylum clock being stopped, assuming that you are in the removal proceedings. Because like I said, it is almost impossible for you to stop your asylum clock if you are if your case is pending before a change of venue. If you request a change of venue, except you have accrued a sufficient number of time for you to get employment authorization, the moment you request a change of venue, the clock stops. That is one way. Second way, let's say you are in a removal proceedings. You are still under the 180 days period. You have not accrued the 180-day period. And then you have a hearing. At the hearing, you or your lawyer request a continuance, or what we call in Africa adjournment. If you request a continuance or adjournment, then the clock stops. Another thing that you can do unknowingly to stop the clock, maybe you get to a removal proceedings. The judge asks you or your lawyer whether you have received the NTA. How do you want to plead to the NTA? Maybe your lawyer stated, oh, I was just hired. I will need time to prep. I will need time to review this case. I need time to know what is going on and all of that. And of course, the court is going to give you or your lawyer time. But guess what? The clock is going to stop. They are going to stop the clock. Because the reason for the clock in the first place is so that the government expects an asylum application to be processed within 180 days. If they have processed it within the 180 days, there will be no need for you getting employment authorization. So, if on the other hand, they are not able to complete it within the 180 days, then they have to allow you to apply for employment authorization so that you don't become a public liability, so that you don't become a public charge, so that you have the opportunity to work and be able to pay your bills, so that you have the opportunity to work and be able to take care of your family. So that is the whole purpose of the 180 days. So, but in this situation, if the government was not able to complete the processing of your asylum application within the 180 days, but you are now the cause, you are the reason why they are not able to do so. So you cannot turn around and use that against them. So that is why they will stop the clock. So the moment you prevent them, the moment you do something with your action, either knowingly or unknowingly, either intentionally or otherwise, the moment you do something to tamper with that processing, that is when the clock stops. That is when the clock stops. So that is exactly, so to go back to this question, let me go back to this question. So that is when the clock stops. So if you don't know that, then you are not going to be able to bring back the question. Okay, I was told my asylum clock stopped. Is there a reason why they will do this? Can I get it started again? No, if you are the one that stopped it, I've just explained to you, the only time it can get started again is whenever whatever you did to obstruct it or to stop it, whenever that thing is removed. For example, if, let's say, out of the 180 days, your application has been pending maybe for 60 days. Now you appear in court with a lawyer, July 12, to the court and tell the court you are ready to proceed. Now, this is another area where experience comes to play. If you tell the court that now you are ready to proceed, your lawyer must also tell the court, at least to remind the court to restart the asylum clock, or get in touch with the court administrator to remind them to restart the asylum clock. However, the court will not restart the asylum clock if, even after that day, if your lawyer is not ready to proceed, or if your lawyer did any other thing that tampers with the asylum clock. I gave an example of change of venue before. Let's say your lawyer comes back and tells the court, okay, I've reviewed the NTA and I'm ready to plead. We are ready to plead. How do you plead? Oh, we admit allegations 1 through to 4. We concede the charge. What relief are you seeking? We are representing our asylum case. Oh, okay. So do you want expedited date, or do you? So let's say your lawyer decides to file a motion for change of venue at that time or any time after that, but before the 180 days. The clock is going to stop again. They are not going to restart the clock. So this thing is a little complex and technical. So that's why it is always good to have a lawyer when you do all these things. So always have a lawyer so that you don't get into trouble with all these things. So I believe that I've been able to answer this question extensively. So let's go into other questions now. Okay, the next question, will I get removed if I don't pass the asylum interview? Oh, these are the questions that is taking us back. I think whoever wrote this question should go back to listen to all our previous, the answers to previous. We have answered these questions over and over and over. Yes, it depends on the type of application that you have. There are two types of asylum. There is affirmative asylum and there is defensive asylum. So if defensive asylum is when you are already in removal proceedings before you apply for asylum. Affirmative asylum is when you apply for asylum in front of with USCIS office. That is affirmative. So if you file an affirmative asylum and your application is not approved, because the immigration officers do not have the authority to deny it, it is mandatory. They have to send you to removal proceedings. That is a mandatory requirement of the law. And you will have the opportunity to represent your case when you get to removal proceedings. Will you be removed? That is a question I cannot answer. It depends on the fact of your case. So I will advise you to get an experienced immigration attorney. Next question. If I meet all of the other eligibility requirements, is it possible to receive asylum from a country that is typically considered not bad? I'm not sure I understand this question. If I meet all of the other eligibility requirements, is it possible to receive asylum from a country that is typically considered not bad? I'm not sure I understand the question. If this person, whoever sent the question, can try to clarify it, I don't understand. Because if you are applying for asylum from the US, so you are getting asylum from the US. So I don't understand what you mean by from a country that is typically not bad. So are you talking about the US or are you talking about different country? I really don't understand that question. Let's go to the next one. But please, if you can clarify it, I will still answer it before we leave. We have very few minutes to go, but I will still try to answer your question before we end these sessions today. So next question. I have 2 kids in the US under the custody of CPS. Asylum. No, sir. That is not the requirement for asylum. And I don't know if this person just joined us. If yes, I will advise you to go back to take your time, go back and watch the tape from the beginning. You will get that. But that is not a requirement for asylum, sir. Anyway, sir, since he's talking about the wife here. Yes, that's not a requirement for asylum. The fact that you have your children in CPS custody, that is not a requirement for asylum, sir. And the fact that you told them to keep them here because of security reasons, those are not requirements for asylum. So please take your time, go over all the things that we have discussed. Those are not the requirement for asylum. In order to be eligible for asylum, you have to show that it is not safe for you in your home country. And the reason it is not safe, whatever harm that you are running away from, that harm must be coming from the government of your country or from someone that the government is unwilling or unable to control. So that is the first requirement for asylum. And even if you meet that first requirement, you may still not get asylum because in some cases, the government may have a legitimate reason to harm you. What if you have committed a crime? The government has a responsibility to have people who committed crime, have them arrested. They may have them persecuted, depending on what you term persecution. So you cannot go and commit a crime and then say that the government is the one trying to harm you. So you still have to show that the government is the one trying to harm you, and the reason they are trying to harm you is at least one of 5 recognized grounds: race, religion, nationality, membership in a particular social group, or political opinion. Those are the requirements for asylum. So the fact that your children are with CPS, or that there is no security in your home country, that is not America's responsibility. That is not a grant for asylum. Okay, I think okay. I thought the person who sent this question about from asylum from a country that is typically considered not bad. I don't understand that question. I wish to answer the question before we close, but I don't understand that question. Let me just read it again and answer it the best way I do before we close. The question again: if I meet all of the other eligibility requirements, is it possible to receive asylum from a country that is typically considered not bad? Well, again, I don't understand the question, but what I will tell you, whether a country is considered typically bad or typically, oh, okay, I think there's a clarification now. I'm in the US trying to get asylum in the US, but my home country is not bad. Well, let me say this. Whether your country is bad or your country is not bad, that is not the requirement for asylum. It is not about the nature of your country. For clarification, let me tell you, people who are from Russia do apply for asylum in the US. People who are from Europe do apply for asylum in the US. People who are from Africa do apply for asylum in the US. So I don't want you to see asylum as something that has to do with economy. This is not an economic benefit. It is not about whether your country is doing well or is not doing well. It is not about whether your country has security challenges or do not. That is why I said those security challenges are not a grant for asylum. So asylum is not about that. So if that is what you are thinking, no, it's not about that. It is more about, is it, okay, let me give you an instance. I think there was a time, I can't remember the year precisely, someone called Edward Snowden or something like that, leaked some US government confidential information, maybe online or to a press or something. Then this person left the US and ran to Russia. In Russia, he applied for asylum. Now, is this person applying for asylum because US is a bad country? No, it's not about that. Why did Russian government grant him asylum? Probably because they knew that they would benefit from the information that he stole from the US government. They knew that they would benefit. But the truth of the matter is that it has nothing to do with economic condition of US or economic condition of Russia. It has nothing to do with whether your country is bad or whether your country is good. It has nothing to do whether there is security in your country or whether there is no security in your country. Insecurity is not a grand area. Nigerian government, despite all the criticism against the government, Nigerian government sent a plane to the US to come and evacuate Nigerian citizens who were stranded in the US during COVID. The question is, why did America not help the Nigerian government to send those Nigerian citizens back to Nigeria at the time? They cannot do it because it is not the responsibility of the American government to protect Nigerian citizens. If they had done it, it would have been termed deportation. So they cannot do it. The same way, why did Nigerian government not use that plane they sent from Nigeria to come and evacuate Nigeria? Why did they not use the same plane to bring Americans who were stranded in Nigeria? They cannot do it because if they had done it, it would have been termed deportation. Besides, It is not the responsibility of the Nigerian government to protect American citizens. It is the responsibility of the American government to protect American citizens. So, insecurity is not a ground for asylum under American immigration law. So, I believe that we have been able to explain all this, and we will have to be rounding up this program for today. Again, if you are just joining us for the first time, it's an opportunity for you to know that we do this every Wednesday, 12 p.m. Dallas time, Central Standard Time. Join us every Wednesday, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. That is Dallas time. Invite your friends, family. It is free of charge. We answer all questions. There is no limit to the amount of questions you can ask, and we do not charge for it. It is free of charge. There's only one purpose and one purpose only why we are doing this. We want to educate people, because every day we keep seeing people who get into trouble, avoidable trouble, because of lack of knowledge, because of simple error. So I'm getting closer to retirement. So the legacy I want to leave behind is to be able to educate people. I want to be able to sit down upon my retirement and see and give myself a pat in the back that I've played my own role educating people, ensuring that people avoid unreasonable mistakes, people avoid errors that could create problem, especially the type of errors that we are discussing today, errors that could create a permanent problem without solution. That is what we are trying to avoid. It is therefore, it will be unfair on your part if you don't invite people. Tell your family and friends, let other people join, let people also take advantage of this free information. Let people also have the opportunity to ask questions. It does not matter whether you are a U.S. citizen or not. You never know where this information will be useful. You never know what will be valuable. You never know who you will help in the future. That is the only reason we are doing this. Therefore, the only way for you to appreciate us is just to tell other people, invite other people, subscribe to our channel so that when we go live, you will be notified. It will be unfair to just do this or without anybody asking questions. You can send in your question before the day. You can send in your question on the day. You can text your question. We have WhatsApp where you can reach us irrespective of your location around the globe. This is free of charge. Always remember, join us every Wednesday, 12 p.m. Dallas time. That is 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. Thank you again for watching. God bless you. See you next week by God's grace.
Research is very important. If you do research, you will learn a lot of stuff. There are a lot of immigration rules some people don't look at. There are loopholes there, and sometimes they purposely put them there. So it's research, and it's using those research to help a lot of people. Not just me. It is not just me. It is a lot of people here many people here that it has helped.
Another interesting thing about our office, we try as much as possible to put smiles in our client faces.
As soon as we call that client, it's such a great feeling. I mean, at first when we're pranking them, I feel so bad.
I was coming from work because like I told you, I'm like a member of this family, and call Asekun, he wants to talk to you.
There is a strategy that we like to do. We like to surprise them. We would call and Mr. Olu would talk to them, letting them know, well, maybe something has gone wrong with their case.
He made it look as if there was no approval. But then I was okay, I'm coming to your office. He said, okay, but just drive carefully and things like that. So okay, I'm waiting for you. Then when I came into the office, even the receptionist, her face was just blank. What is happening? He said, okay, let me tell him that you're around. I went to the office. He had already assembled the entire staff. And when I came in, wow, the balloon just busted. When he said, well, this is what, he made it look as if it was going to be like, and then he now, congratulations. He didn't say you were approved, he said, we have been approved.
They get so excited, they're happy, they start crying, they're just super excited. I had times where I cry with them because you feel what they're feeling. And you understand what they go through in it. Like I mentioned, like we all handle their case, we all know their cases. And it's like I am one of them and I understand what's going on. And I'm happy for them that it's finally ended and they are now where they want to be. That is our main goal.
And I jumped. I didn't know how or where the strength came from. I didn't even think I could knock him down. I pared his neck because that particular issue was so naughty. But God just used him and everything was resolved and I got my approval. The entire office, they were so happy, they were jubilating as if it was one of them or their own child.
Having someone go from a super low to a high of something, such a positive result, it feels amazing, honestly.
It's really, really a big challenge. But again, we were able to put smiles in her face and we were able to get her substantial amount of money from the insurance company. Even after paying all her medical bills, she was able to smile to the bank.
Our clients love us because we care. Their experiences are our experiences. Their joy is our joy. Their sorrow is our sorrow. So we really, really care about everyone that walks through those doors. And I think that that's what makes us special.
And then I rolled on the ground. All of them, I was, Nigerians, how we react to issues. I was rolling on the ground, thanking God. Is that not caring what I was wearing or who I was looking? But the good thing is that the entire office was happy with me, not for me, because they felt that it was their win, it was their own. And we all celebrated. It was a good thing.
I was looking for Lawyer Asekun for help concerning my immigration status because everything was upside down. Because I couldn't believe, I was even thinking maybe I'll be sent out back to Nigeria. So on getting to know him, he explained everything to me, what I'm going to do, that he's going to do everything. So fortunately for me, everything was done from him. Dr. Lawyer Asekun is the best lawyer so far in Texas, because I can introduce as many as whoever is having problem, especially when it comes to immigration. I'm going to introduce Lawyer Asekun because he's the best lawyer. So far, so good.
Our goal here is to make our clients happy, especially in the area of immigration, family law, and personal injury.
Providing you service, right? So it became something like a family. So yeah, I can see the relationship was good working with his staff. People give me encouragement, but I will look at it and say, how is it possible? I say, it is not going to be possible. That's why I kept telling myself that it's not going to be possible. But he knew what he was doing. Like I said, research is very, very important. If you do research, you will learn a lot of stuff. There are a lot of immigration rules some people don't look at. There are loopholes there, and sometimes they purposely put them there. So it's research, and it's using those research to help a lot of people, not just me. It is not just me. It is a lot of people here many people here that he has helped. Many people. Sometimes it doesn't even charge them. When it comes to the point that it doesn't even charge them. So yes, if you are looking for an immigration lawyer, even if I'm sleepy right now, If I'm like sleepy, you wake me up, you say, do you know any immigration lawyer? I won't even blink, you know. I will say it, Dr. Asekun is there, you know. I will just say it. So, that's how good he is.
Talking about immigration, as an immigrant myself, I always put myself in the shoes of clients because I've passed through the immigration process and I know how hard it can be on people when they don't have the legal documents to work or to do day-to-day activities here in the United States. So that personal touch makes a big difference.
The law office of Olu Asekun is special because we like to put ourselves in our client's shoes.
For Dr. Asekun, for me, I will forever be grateful, and I keep telling people he's the best immigration lawyer you can have. You know, he's the best immigration lawyer you can have.